Should I do a video on today? Ah! Welcome all. Jarl Steve here, and I want to welcome you to another Mead Hall short. This one's brought to you today by a little Highland Park 12 year. This is the Viking Honor Edition. The owners of the company trace their lineage back to Vikings, and that's why they've produced this edition. So we're going to have a little bit of that while we talk. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk shit. No, actually, we're going to talk about crap. Well, crap is a way of saying shit, just a little bit more politely, supposedly. So where's the word crap come from? Well, we're going to start off by introducing you to a gentleman. This is Thomas Crapper. Now, you would think that based on his name, he has something to do with crap. We'll get back to him later. Toilets are something we're all familiar with. We all have them. We've had them since our youth. None of us have grown up at a time where toilets were not, indoor plumbing, indeed, was not a thing. So it's something we take for granted, and we all have it. Now, we know that toilets and indoor plumbing existed in the ancient world. In fact, we have archaeological evidence of Roman communal toilets. If you were Roman elite, you probably had one in your home for yourself that you didn't have to share. But if you were a common Roman commoner, chances are you had to use one of these for your daily business. If you were not an extrovert, it was definitely not fun. Imagine being an introvert and having to sit there. Yeah. Anyways, so we know as Rome goes into decline, the idea of sanitation, which was so important to Rome, the Romans realizing you couldn't have big cities without flowing water and, bathing and sanitation, removing waste from the cities. Something that gets lost until later on, now we don't see a city the size of Rome until London reaches its peak in the late 1700s, early 1800s. And even then, London, supposedly the center of the British Empire, didn't realize that sanitation was so important, as is evidenced by, the very good chance of dying of cholera. So, unfortunately, during the decline of the Roman Empire, some of this stuff is lost. Kind of falls by the wayside. We know that disease and unsanitary conditions are a common thing in the medieval world. That's not to say that it all went away. We know, for instance, that the Vikings usually had in their homes an area set aside where they would be able to do their business every day. And, they used a trench that went under the wall of the house at an angle and used gravity to remove the waste and get it away from the home. And we know that if you were lucky enough to be the lord of a castle or a king, you had something called a garderobe, which was on the side of usually on the wall of the castle, an outer wall of the castle, and used gravity again to take the waste and drop it down below. Whether it be into a cistern or something outside the wall, some poor peasant then had to go clean that. Obviously, that didn't matter to the king or the lord. His castle was clean. So indoor plumbing was still a thing. And as time goes on, indoor plumbing continues to grow. And we do get the invention of the toilet. We're not going to really get that. We're going to into that. We're going to keep that simple. And no, one of the myths we're going to shoot down for Mr. Thomas Crapper, he did not invent the toilet. But the toilets and the indoor plumbing were usually still for the rich and the well-off. And they certainly were not for, people living on farms. And for them, the common toilet was an outhouse. Something that, we don't have much familiarity with ourselves today, unless, of course, we're into, if you're working construction, or if you like to go to outdoor venues for things, for instance, taco festivals. But anyways, internal plumbing becomes a thing and slowly grows. Um, Sir Thomas Crapper, as I said, was born in about 1836. We know that he was born around that time. We don't know his actual birth date because it was lost, but we know that he was baptized in about 1836. Plumbing was already very much a thing at that point in time. And at a young age, Thomas Crapper was apprenticed to his uncle, who was a plumber. From there, Thomas Crapper became a plumber himself, and then also became a businessman, opening his own company, producing toilets and other fixtures for the bathroom. Now, we said Thomas Crapper didn't invent the toilet. Okay? But he is famous for some things. He didn't invent it, but he did make it better. 2 of his 9 patents are for things that we take for granted and still use today. One of them is the floating ball cock, which is in the toilet tank and helps to regulate the water level in the tank. Chances are, if you've ever worked on a toilet or you're handy around the house, you may have replaced one of those yourself at some point. The other thing he invented was the U-joint, or the U-bend, for the plumbing coming out of the toilet, and that's used to prevent gas and waste from coming back up. Both of these things are still used today. So while Thomas Crapper didn't invent the toilet, he certainly made it better. And it stayed pretty much the same to this day. Well, that is until the Japanese got a hold of it. So there you go. So if Thomas Crapper's not associated with inventing the toilet, how did his name be associated with the word crap? Well, one of the myths or the possible sources of the word crap coming from his name, it potentially is from American soldiers in World War I in England seeing toilets for the first time. A lot of these would have been probably farm boys, or even if they lived in major cities, they may not have had indoor plumbing. And these guys saw toilets for the first time. And they saw emblazoned on it, of course, in many cases, Thomas Crapper's name, because he made a lot of these toilets. So it's perhaps where we get the origin of the, I'm going to take a crap, or I'm going to the crapper. That's one possible thing. But it's more likely the word crap comes from a different source. There's 2 words, one in Dutch, krappen, and one in French, crap. Both Old Dutch and Old French. They can trace their lineage back to medieval Latin, the word crappa. And in all cases, it relates to waste or weeds or chaff, not human waste, but rubbish, garbage, things that are thrown away. About 10 years after Thomas Crapper is born, and this is what puts the nail in the coffin of his being associated with the word crap, about 10 years after he's born, we see in the Oxford English Dictionary the first appearance of the crapping ken. Ken referring to a house. So a crapping house, an outhouse. And this is more likely where we get the word crap from. So there you have it. Thomas Crapper. Not the inventor of the toilet, and not the origin of the word crap or crapping or any of that. He just happened to be born with a shitty name. And this has been a shitty topic. But this is not shitty scotch. So anyways, thank you for listening. And I hope you've enjoyed today's Mead Hall chat. It certainly is enlightening sometimes, some of the things you find out. But anyways, happy crapping.